So Eugene, you have been with Saturday Night Live since the very first episode.
Yes.
Do you ever think to yourself, I want to move on from this? Why do you stick around with this show for so long?
Well, the producer asked me.
That's good. Well, tell us.
He's a nice guy,
Yeah.
and I've known him a long time. And I'm building a house near his up in Whiting, Maine.
Mhm.
So I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I'll stop. Okay.
no. You go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
no.
No. I was just going to ask. I mean, you've
Oh,
been with the show.
why am I doing it? No, I don't know what would. There's very few of us left from the first show, but a lot of the design department is. Once we have them, we don't let them go. That's all.
Well, okay, there you go. I guess I wonder. I mean, you've been with the show since the very beginning, so you can probably speak to the durability of this show. I mean, it's had its ups and its downs, but it's always stuck around for 43 years now.
Right.
Where do you think the lasting impact of this show comes from?
I don't know. I think it's a pretty good show. We have a lot of writers. Writers produce their own pieces. We have a lot of new writers these days, which is good news and bad news. Really is good news, but it's because it's good to have new people because they want things differently. They would like this a video setup. See, that would be the new people would like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, every week you've got to produce these new sets for each individual skit. Take us through the production week. And,
please, let's not.
Okay.
No, we can. What is overlooked, since I have the chance to express what is overlooked on Saturday night, is the decisions made in the first year and in the first show. Okay, because I was. This has all come up in my mind recently since I've written a book, which has gone to the publisher and should come out by Christmas time, and it's given me a chance to look at. Plus, we did in Chicago, we have a copy of Saturday Night Live that they do, which was played for a year in Manhattan. Did really pretty good. And it explained that the rundown of that thing in Chicago is exactly what you asked me. What's the timeline?
Mm-hmm.
But which I'll do. But and if I ramble on, just tell me to stop. That's all. The biggest, most important decision. I walked into Studio 8H, and it was empty. They hadn't done a live show in 16 years, I think. And so it was like, when I looked at it, and then we hired different people. We finally hired a director. Funny that I was hired before the director, Dave Wilson, and he knew a lot. He was great, and now he's dead, But the decision was, he explained to me, because we knew nothing about television, So he said, think of it as a big shoebox, because that's the shape of 8H. Okay, following me?
Mm-hmm.
Divide it into 3 sections. One section will be backstage. Next section will be the home base in the middle. And the other, which will also probably include an area for music, guest music, And then the other third will be the audience. And in this case, that was accomplished in 8H by having like a bleacher, which is there that you've rolled up like in a school, no back, just seats. And it's stored under a concrete balcony to get it out of the way. And he said, that's how the studio has to work, because that's how it works. And in the seating section was designed to have about an 8-foot wide, 8-foot deep space so that the crane could back away and come and back into that well, And he said, that's how it's got to be. But I don't know. I'm a stubborn kind of guy, you know, and nothing makes me happier than to see it. I usually, many of my shows that have outside of Saturday night, the first thing I've had to say is very nice, you know, very nice. When can I take the seats out, you know, because I don't like where they are, you know, yeah, move them where I like them, you know, is what I like. Um, so the decision, and there was a balcony, three rows deep, okay, kind of around the perimeter. And I thought, well, we'll put the seats there. I mean, well, how many seats can we get there? Plus, I was, you know, I seem to work for people either a second or a really long time. I've worked for the theater here in Providence 50 years, longer than Saturday night, if one can imagine such a thing. When Lorne Michaels came years ago to give me some medal, because they give me a lot of things, he was in a usual Lorne Michaels, you know, lack of, you know, making it simple. He said to the audience, you know, yes, Gene, a lot of when I see his sets, you know, that's in New York, but they kind of look like Providence, you know. So that may be true. So anyway, I put the seats along one side. I learned later, working on the book again, I got over my fax machine came a picture of how Saturday night was laid out originally. It was Toscanini, and it was actually it was exactly the same design as, basically with a few exceptions, of what we did. And of course, Dave said, well, it can't work. The crane can't, there's not room. So guess what? They made it work. You know, the crane runs back and forth. But that has created a kind of important thing often overlooked, because had I been weaker, I would have just gone with what everyone told me to do. But I didn't like it. Cameras have wheels. They can roll around. And there was little stages. Cameramen don't like that. They have to pad up a little higher than usual, and they're so lazy. They don't want to stand on their toes. Okay. But it makes for, I mean, so today, after all those years, we've changed it very little. I mean, there's been little changes, you know, but not many. But even on a bad show, a show that's, and we hope for not many of those. Most shows are good. But the audience loves seeing the activity in the studio. And since now we do a lot more scenery than we used to do. And if you look at the first show set, it's which I reproduced recently, and I reproduced it for a number of things. For a movie that was being made, we built it again, and we built a copy of it for Chicago for this exhibit. You know, so but it makes a kind of dynamic studio, equipment moving down, people getting dressed really fast, sometimes just behind a flat. Sometimes they can't quite make the change, and there's some stagehand holding the thing up from behind, and no one knows the difference, you know. So it would have been the way it was suggested it should be, would have to be, you know, pull in a set, sit it in front of the camera, do it, take it away, go to the backstage area, bring some more stuff, which would have been a very different show, you know. So somehow, you know, yeah, that's the most important thing I've contributed to the show. As far as doing it, it's all one can say about doing it. Hey, we read it on Wednesday. We scheduled at 5 o'clock. No one believes that is happening. It doesn't happen, but we come anyway because that's what the schedule says, you know. And I come from Providence, since I've lived here forever, and I take the Acela. I've stayed on the Acela long enough. It seems that they're going to have reserved seats soon. It's trying it on various, not on this train that I come in on. So I come in, I go to Yale. I take a taxi over to the Yale Club and check in. They give me a nice, usually the same room. That's my little commitment to New York. In early shows, of course, I lived in the boat basin for the 5 years, and that was kind of great. But, the city was trying to get rid of people who lived aboard their boats. If we were living in England, they would be embracing this concept, but not New York, Anyway, so that we read it. There's so many people at the read-through now. Some people have to sit in the hallway. They can't even get to the read-through, forget be there. I always sit in the same chair. I never like change. I like it. I know who I see. I can look down the table and see Mr. Michaels. I can see the guest. I can see if he's usually sneaky about whether he likes things, but I can kind of look down there and have a feeling what he likes. Because in the end, it never matters how much work we do. If it's not funny, it gets cut. That's all. So anyway, so that's Wednesday. We take a little break in the middle of the reading because of so many scripts. Little break is maybe 15 minutes, something like that, and then we come back and we read all the script, finish it off, and then I hate that take-in food. I usually bring a little sandwich or something. Taking food is bad. Okay. Anyway, we have interns that have researched. They've gotten the script a little earlier, so they could go online and do research, which we couldn't do in the old days. Those old days. Now you can find anything on the internet. Usually, so research is done. Then, they decide. They decide what they'd like to produce because someone has to. That's why there are producers. They tell us what they want, and we also have a meeting with the director to decide. We kind of decide, and then everyone else takes credit. No matter. We decide where in the studio we're going to try to put all this stuff because these days we have more scenery than we used to. You look at the first sketch with Belushi sitting in a chair, and the walls behind were just painted flat. It looks like our version of the Honeymooners. So it's gone from that to the new people who do movies, and the movie industry affects us, so they want things more realistic. They say, and they will produce their iPad or something and show their research, sometimes. Fine, I guess, whatever they want. We're there to please. And so that's all. And we then invite everyone in, but writers produce their own pieces, okay? So if they want things, they have to it's a great show for writers. Writers have, they learn a lot about producing a television show. If they want scenery, they have to come to the set department. If they want costumes, they have to go talk to Tom in the costume area. If they want special effects is hanging out, waiting to do something. They just have to be told, though. So, so that's kind of crazy. It's kind of good, And sometimes, sometimes we try to learn as much as we can that they might have forgotten. Did they put day or night? Maybe we're going to have a $20,000 drop and then suddenly find out that's not what it is, that it's a nighttime scene or something. So we try to, and then they leave. And suddenly it's the craziness is gone. It's very calm. And we kind of decide between us, the design department, who might draw what. I hate quiz shows. I stay away from them like the plague. I just can't. I don't. If there's a boat, I'm surely interested. That's very good. So we decide who, and then we try to, and then we just draw it up in the old-fashioned way with a pencil, and that's okay. That's that. And we try to get out by midnight. We don't always get out by midnight, but sometimes we do. Sometimes we have to stay. And we have to hang in there until I find myself as I get older, I draft really slowly, so it's not a good sign, you know. I mean, it's pencils, you know. You can ask me about the pencil factory if you want, Mr. Mike.
Well, tell us about the pencil.
Okay, then you make it, because we do it like theater. We do it like theater. So we drag ourselves in if we're really late, and we go on camera about 1 o'clock. And the first thing we do is do the music, because usually there's a set there, or they've brought their own scenery. They wanted to use what they want. Kind of a good thing and kind of a bad thing, although probably good, because you know I always say you can never learn less. So, and that's really true. And so we rehearse the music, and then we rehearse some little sketches, whatever, simple ones usually. Because sometimes we can't. And there's a lot of reasons why. There's a lot of rewriting going on, so and playing around with the script, so you can't sometimes, you know. Anyway, we do the music, and then we do a few sketches, and then if we don't have any set there, which we don't, we take some wings, as we call them in television. It's not flats. Take the wings. Wings, for some reason, are painted white on the back side. In the theater, we paint them black. I don't know why that is. That's how it is. So anyway, and then I think these days, since we're doing more and more, you know, Thursday used to be a really good day for me. I'm a kind of club guy. It's a Yale club. Down the block, I'm a member of the New York Yacht Club. And so I used to kind of go out and have a nice dinner. But these days, somehow, Thursday is going later and later. It's just how it is. You would think the show would be easier to do after doing it all these years. Actually, it's not. Okay. So anyway, we do that, and that's that. Meanwhile, in the South, in Brooklyn these days, building going on, you know, and then late at night, after, you know, comes the night crew. They get scenery. The night crew is a throwback to live television that only NBC has. It's just, and these guys, they start at 5 o'clock, and they do all the shows. I mean, I do the Tonight Show and late night too. Around, you know, mostly my friend, I've delegated this to better people, you know, but because I kind of like my little talk shows with it. I like my little one with the little wooden buildings, you know, it's kind of sweet, you know, anyway. So, and then I would say a third of the scenery, maybe a half of the scenery comes overnight and is set up by the night crew. Okay, which is nice. You know, they're very smart, and then if we've made a mistake, they fix it. You know, they are great guys. You know, get a flat tire in Manhattan, call the night crew. They'll come save you. You know, it's true. Broadway is like that too. You know, the crews at NBC are kind of like the same family. You know, if you stand you walk into the studio and there's lots of stagehands doing something, setting something up, moving something, and you say Demler, you know, 5 people stop working and look at you, because we employ all their kids. We've sent them all through college or whatever, you know. But it's kind of touching. You can't walk from one end of the building down to the new cafeteria without meeting half a dozen people who will say good day to you. It's really nice, you know. You don't find this every place. We did you know, Lauren and I, we did the new show, you know, in the years that he didn't do the show, and we did it at CBS. Very unpleasant attitude over there at CBS. You know, not good. Once you're used to NBC, you know, other things. Anyway, so that's Thursday. Friday we come in. The thing, we always come in early. I mean, Leo always comes in at 5 or 6 a.m. He likes to be there. It's the best time in the studio, very quiet, you know, it's nice, you know, and then on we have painters. So we sent the painters to work, because the senior doesn't come painted anymore. It used to in the first year, when we first did it, NBC, RCA owned the company, it's really spooky having done it so long. It's just, I think people they don't even know how it happens now, go down to the basement, it's like another world down there. They have their own cafeteria. Anyway, so we originally got the scenery was painted out in Brooklyn, where the shop was at that time, and they painted it all there. They put all the hardware on it. Then they wrapped it in brown paper so it wouldn't get scratched, and it all came in finished. That didn't last too long. That was more expensive to do that way. Although I must say, it was now we just get it, and it's not painted, and there's no doorknobs, and there's nothing. We finish it, and if we've made a mistake, and we're always, I don't know. It doesn't matter how many years we do this show or how many, we're getting the message from the director. He's shooting off, and you just say, the camera could move a little bit here. How about this here? And then, but no. Anyway, this is how it. And then, of course, we're getting the new ideas because, as you know, there's so many political things going on in our country that, which, I mean, read the New York Times every day, you kind of get a hint of what's happening. Are we going to need a set in Iraq or something, whatever, Anyway, and then. And we work late on Thursday, as I said, doing things. And scenery keeps coming. I mean, it comes in the middle of our rehearsing, which is a distraction, Plus, we're doing a lot of filming these days. So they drag the stars away, the guests, and you look up in the monitor, and all you see an intern, a stage manager. Everyone is standing in because the guest is out doing a little film thing with the film unit. All good, and then comes Saturday. Saturday's easy. We do just like theater, just like we were doing Broadway. We do a technical. What does that mean? Smoke, whatever. Right, busting through a wall because they don't know how to end the sketch. Whatever it is. Okay, we've been there. We used to have an animal. It was a black and white cow, and we hung it up over sketches we didn't like, and then we drop it. Okay? Now, and we never saw it on air. And then I don't see. In the early days, things were a little more not so rigid as it's become, which is how changes. It's a little like how it is on Broadway. I had to Wicked on Broadway. And it's 12 years now, whatever. Up. How many years?
15.
15, you see, I usually can walk over there. But, when long-running shows, you go there playing cards in the wings, and they suddenly stop, and they wait a moment, they lay their cards down, they walk onto the set, they do that, it's a green witch or something, then they come back, and we resume the card game. So, anyway, so we do a technical. Okay, so we do a technical. Then we do a dress rehearsal with an audience. Okay, and that's the most critical thing because that's when Lorne really sees it. Okay, we've made a little space for him. I mean, it's funny how things change. When way in the beginning, he suddenly wandered onto the set with a bottle of alcohol, and everyone had a fit. I mean, it was like, you'd think like the world had stopped, it's like, and now, of course, anyway, we built him a nice little area as a place for the wine, has extra chairs for producers, and everyone's a producer in television, which is fine. And then he gets to see it. And then if he doesn't like something, he sends one of his, down the food chain of girls to go get design. And we go in and, he'll point at what's that? Is that what you want? And the writer, of course, is there too. He's hoovering in the background. And, they never say like, it was our idea. It's always the designer. But we don't care. We whatever they want. Don't like the color, don't like it. Some of the most exciting moments on Saturday night have been on, after they can't quite decide, and then suddenly they want it. They want major changes, and we don't have like we used to. There's no storage in the building anymore. It's with Comcast and everything. It's so sometimes they'll want things. We have to just make it happen. We are changing the paint job. Audience is literally coming in. We're changing the paint job. They want a different chair. Keith didn't understand, or they changed their mind. Go find it in the building, break into someone's office, take it away, whatever it takes. It's kind of exciting, actually. And then and when things get cut, we just take them out of the studio. No matter if it's dressed, we take everything, right in front of any, because it helps. It's still a small studio, so anything that isn't being used, if it's on a stage, okay, sometimes we can't. It's going to just stay there with the, air audience looking at it, wondering, wonder why we're not seeing it. So anyway, that's all. And then I have a longtime driver, Sam. Sam picks me up at 30 Rock after the dress rehearsal, everything's been picked. Usually there's never any changes. There's always someone from the design department, presumably one who's living in the city, who will be around in case there's some emergency. Usually not, but there's so we have and that's it. Sam drives me kind of fast and badly through Connecticut to home, and I get home late, but but Sunday is nice. I get up and go to breakfast with my wife. That's 1 week, and I'm always a little depressed. I'm kind of like I always think we could do it better. That if we were just smarter, and then you think, well, okay, it could be, we could have done it smarter, but on the other hand, we've got to do it next week. And maybe we'll talk to the writers a little more. Sometimes the writers show up and they look like they have one too many drinks. So you don't know whether to But it's a wonderful show to do. I mean, there's very few people left from the beginning. I mean, count them on one hand now. I don't. I'm kind of looking forward to it. I had a good summer. Usually, I've been trying to finish things that I've started. I have a lot of sailboats and a few power boats, and I have a house on the water, right on the waterfront in Jamestown, Rhode Island. So I had a chance to use my sailboats a little bit this summer, and then I tried to finish things off. I'd written this book. And it went as far as we had a little strike, a little writer's strike or something. And I thought, my grandfather was a writer. He wrote children's books, like juvenile books. Ronald Reagan said his favorite childhood author. And I thought, hey, if Grandpa can write a book, I can do that. So I wrote a book and I circulated it around. Okay, and then the theater communications group, a person who works for them, called me and said, we got your book, because I sent it around to various obvious people, and they said, we really like it, we would like to publish it, and so fine, this was great, and then, but as fate turned out, nothing happened. I don't know what, it just wasn't happening, okay? And I basically this summer almost given up on it, except my boy, it was kind of great because my friend Patrick, who's worked with me forever, who knows everything, he went to Carnegie Mellon. I went there when they called it Carnegie Tech. And then, of course, I went to Yale. Eventually, I learned that only Yale people are working, Anyway, nothing was happening on the book, okay? But Patrick said one day, some people called from Albany, New York, and they would like to invite you to give a speech and they will pay a certain amount, and then they'll arrange all the travel, and they'll put you up overnight if that's necessary or whatever. And he said, they're very friendly. You should do it. So we said, okay, we'll do it. And then, of course, this happens all the time. As you get older, you get, I've been working all day before we dialed you up on making a 30-second thing for the Emmys.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so we're making our own little thing, I don't know what I did. I don't know, doesn't matter. So I go and anyway, the speech is going to happen. So I call our video guy and say, can you make a little film? Because there's been a lot of that. And we have a lot of footage of lots of things, the Tonight Show being built, late night being built, all kinds of things. And make a little thing. And then I can just go play the film, play the video, ask for questions, get out of there, jump on the car with Sam, and I'm out of there. And everyone's happy. They get okay. So I go, and the video works out fine. I show it. And they want me to give the speech twice, once with the students and once with adults, and which also had students in it too, as it turned out. And they're very nice. So I do the talk, and I have a little film with Saturday night stuff. Kids are interested in how it's done and just all the questions you asked. Okay, so it turns out it's a Writers Institute, and the guy who runs it is William Kennedy. William Kennedy is 90 years old, and he wrote Ironwood, which was made into a feature. And so he has this Writers Institute, and it seemed very hip, and there was they do. So this guy was really great, and oh, here's my phony book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was and because the real book is this thick and has its custom spiral binder, and it fits in a little sleeve. It's about this thick, but so this is just a prop for my little film. So you can kind of like show things. Candide, see that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. This was the show that Lorne Michaels saw that gave me the job. Had he not gone to this, I would not have the jump. He couldn't find a television designer, and so he found a set designer, a Broadway designer, and it was very hot. Won a Tony, and it was a nice show. We did it in Brooklyn, and then so anyway, William Kennedy, and he was great. So they catered a little meal. It was such a classy place, and it was so nice. And it's a huge university, 13,000 students. I mean, unbelievable. In kind of a campus that's designed, with that concrete bunker mentality architecture, and the laying on the table. I brought along my mock-up book. This is around, but I brought it. I wasn't going to even bring it because I had the video. The video was maybe. I know I'm speaking to a lot of people, so I did. But so I did anyway. And my little book is lying on the table where we're having this little meal, catered meal. It was nice. And his wife was there, who was an actress on Broadway in the old days. And he's talking. He said, he pointed to my book. He says, what's that? And I said, well, it's my book. It's not happening, but, he said, can I take a look? I said, sure. Why not? So he takes the book and he, this is not it. But he's very slow. He's 90, and he's like, God, I hope I can make 90. Probably you can't even think about it. But he really looks at it very carefully, goes through it. There's a lot of pages. It's that thing. And afterwards he said, they would be a fool not to publish this. And I went, and he said, well, I said, why do you suppose theater communications group didn't do it? And it didn't. He said, look, they have very small budgets. They do scripts and stuff and small books, you know. And when they get to yours, even though they said they were going to do it, and they gave me an advance, do it too, small, but it made me feel like a writer, like my grandfather. So you know, he said they think, well, we won't do it. Well, how about next year? So he gets pushed to the bottom of the stack, you know, and so I go, well, okay, that makes sense. I knew those theater communications group people too, because Ted Hoffman was head of the department at Carnegie Tech when I went there, and he had gotten the original Ford Foundation grant to start that group. So they had a kind of history to it. Anyway, so we're walking out, and he stops, and he looks at me, and he says, oh, don't worry, we'll publish your book. You know, so it's like, this is too perfect. You know, if I hadn't taken the book, if I hadn't answered the call from these people in Albany, I didn't know them, because we get a lot of people calling, some like you that want to know things. Okay, and it's been fun, you know. Anyway, so we digitized the whole thing, organized it, because then it's growing from that thick to this thick. And we had a special binder being made so it can be in one volume, and then it has a big sleeve. So we have high hopes that it's all going to get done. And
I certainly look forward to reading it when it comes out. Eugene, thank you so much for your time. It's been very informative. And
talk on and on. Okay.
No.
I like this setup. I've been working on a thing with Barry Diller, you know, a project. You know, he does this with his boardroom. You know, he puts it on his fancy boardroom near the High Line. You know. Anyway, he's talking to you.
Very nice talking to you as well. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, I had fun.